Hello, class, and welcome to this section, which is going to be poetry. We're going to start by looking at different aspects of poetry as far as the message that we receive, format of poetry, and things that distinguish it from other types of writing. We're going to start with a few poems today and analyze those and maybe interpret them. So I look forward in sharing these poems with you today. I think that each student has a good grasp of what poetry is and what poetry looks like, although there are some things that make it distinguishable from other types of writing, such as prose. We're going to look at some of those. Let's go ahead and begin with why we read poetry. One reason that we read poems is out of enjoyment or entertainment. Sometimes we may read a poem that we really like and we don't know why we like it as far as the format or the rhyme pattern. Sometimes we just connect with the words that are being said. They might make us feel a certain way or laugh or experience some type of emotion. In that case, we're looking at enjoyment, we're looking at entertainment. There are millions of different types of poems, and I think that everyone can relate to at least one or two in their lives. Next, we can appreciate the artistry of it, how the poem was created. We can see the techniques that the poet uses. We can look at things like rhyme, alliteration. We can look at the formal structures such as sonnets or villanelles, and we start to appreciate the artistic elements of that poem. One of the reasons I like reading poetry is because I can learn something about myself. In the enjoyment or entertainment aspect of it, maybe the poem is making me feel an emotion or making me laugh, but ultimately I enjoy the poems most when they teach me something that I can apply to my own life, or they connect in a way that teaches me something about how I should live, how I should respond to certain situations, or maybe even just connecting with other people. So we should look at poems critically in this class and not just look at the entertainment value. We want to look at those forms and structures and how they are being used to maybe enhance the message or enhance that learning aspect that I mentioned earlier. So we're going to look a lot more deeply at these poems than we would just as a casual reader. One thing that we want to look at is, do we understand the message that's being given? Now, this doesn't mean that there's one message for each poem. We can get different messages depending on the reader's experience, depending on how the reader interprets various lines. But we want to understand what that poem means to us, or what the message that we receive is going to be. Then we're going to understand the meaning. So the message and the meaning are different. One might be the overlaying story or situation that's being given. That could be the meaning of the poem, and the message could be separate, especially as we look into things like allegory or representations, symbols, things that need to be interpreted as far as a larger implication. So the message and the meaning can be different. And then we're going to look at the form and how the form correlates with both that message and meaning. How does it advance the story or the situation that the poet is giving? And then how does it advance the meaning that we get from the poem? Or how does it change our interpretation of that poem?